Welcome everyone to this evening's meeting in the hometown audience also. I would like to open the meeting as of now and ask if there are any conflicts of interest amongst the council members. No, thank you very much, and I will mention that we have one of our youth members absent and also Councillor Bjorkman, who is away on vacation. We're looking for the adoption of tonight's published agenda. Moved by Councillor Vogt, supported by Councillor Rogers, with an addition.
Through you, Mr. Chair, one addition this evening. Councillor Bondi gave me notice of motion for presentment only tonight, and we'll present that and read that under the notice of motion section of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, sir. Nothing else? Councillor Bondi, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Along with that notice of motion I sent to the clerk's office, I do have another one about the Harrow Arena concessions I'd like to put forward too as well.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
5.1 on the agenda this evening, that the minutes of the regular council meeting from July 3rd, 2008 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Vogt. Any questions? All in favor? That carries.
Item 6 on the agenda, public presentations. 6.1 is a presentation this evening. The Ontario Minister responsible for Senior Affairs invited Council earlier this year to participate in nominations for the 2018 Senior of the Year Award by forwarding the name of one outstanding local senior who after the age of 65 has enriched the social, cultural, and or civic life of our community. At the April 16th regular meeting, Council nominated Diana Dennis as the Town of Essex 2018 Senior of the Year, and accordingly, the Mayor on behalf of Council this evening would like to present Ms. Dennis as the Senior of the Year.
And I'm not going to say that she's 65. I guess she must be, though. But it is my pleasure to welcome and congratulate the 2018 Citizen of the Year from the town of Essex, Miss Diana Dennis. Every year, the province of Ontario invites municipalities to nominate outstanding seniors in their communities. We've done this the last couple of years, and it's a pleasure again this year. Council is thrilled to present an award to Diana, who has proven to be an active citizen and community contributor. Diana currently teaches piano and vocal skills to people of all ages from her home in Essex Center. Her nominator, Marissa Deck, praised her for going above and beyond as a music teacher, even reaching out personally when students were ill or missed classes. In the past, she has worked with special needs students at Sun Parlor Junior School. She is also an active volunteer at the Essex United Church. She's an organ player. But many of you may not believe it, but I am a senior myself. With that many years behind me, I know that being part of the community doesn't stop when you retire. Diane is a shining example of staying active and contributing to the betterment of the town and its citizens. Many thanks for all the work, your hard work, in your past and future. So Diane, if you'd come up, we'll get some pictures taken of the presentation. And I do believe we have some flowers too.
Okay, I would just like to say I'm extremely humbled and grateful for this. I love our town. I do love my students. I love everyone here. Thank you again. I so appreciate it all. Thanks.
One on the agenda is Building Report 2018-06, that the building report providing council with an update on building activity from June 2018 be received.
Moved by Councilor Rogers, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, to Jeff, our planner, all the planned subdivisions that we have right now are good, they're on their way.
Mr. Watson?
Through Mr. Mayor, the De La Bona subdivision on Queen Street in Harrow is ready to go. There are other subdivisions that are close. As you know, the Essex Crossing subdivision is subject to a rezoning application for some changes to the bylaw requirements.
Right.
So basically things are progressing, and they're progressing pretty well overall.
Okay, just further to that on the development with Terry Raffi, how is that one proceeding?
That's the Woodview Estate subdivision, and we're still waiting for the assessment from the biologist who is looking at the woodlot, that's part of that subdivision, and the status of the woodlot.
And last conversation with the biologist there?
In the last conversation, they submitted what's necessary, the paperwork that's required for the Ministry of Natural Resources, and that's in with the ministry now. And they have to follow up then with, once the ministry has reviewed it and made their requirements, that will be followed up by some red line amendments to the subdivision if necessary.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
8.2, Infrastructure and Development 2018-11, results of request for tender 2018 rehabilitation of Essex culverts for receipt, and that council award the request for tender for the structures identified to SLR Contracting Group in the amount of $527,752.80, including applicable taxes.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councilor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? That carries.
.3 Infrastructure and Development 2018-12, results of request for tender Gore Road Concession Road 8 Rehabilitation 2018 for receipt, and that council award the request for tender to Norjon Contracting in the amount of $549,157, including taxes.
By Councilor Volk, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? Councilor Volk.
I'll start the discussions, obviously. Like, in terms of this particular process, the historical file on it, it's been done before, it's been done again, and when it was done before, it failed, and when it's done again, it's failed. It's a lot of money to do, and I think it's very obvious in terms of the specifications and the way they're written. I don't know if it affords equal opportunity for everybody to bid on it. I think if we're a little more open, we're a little more candid to the specifications, that it would afford opportunity for anybody that has the chance to bid on it, I don't like seeing work, obviously, if anybody knows me, I don't like seeing work going out of our community, especially when taxpayers are paying to the tune of over $500,000. If there's a process that I can work on diligently as a representative that allows us to do it with it, or not to do it, but even to equally have the opportunity to bid on the process with any process.
I'm sorry, Councilor Vokes, just a point of information. I'm a little bit distracted by what's going on up at the front. between the CAO and the clerk, and perhaps we could have one meeting. I would be a little more focused myself.
I very much appreciate that, Councilor.
And I thank you very much for that, but let's all of us in this room, remember that in the future, okay? Thank you very much for that, Councilor Bonnie. Councilor Vokes.
Thank you, Sherry. So my point is that I think we really need to look collectively as a council in terms of, because we're responsible for it. Nobody other than us sitting at this bar are responsible for it. And if there's a process that we can launch, look at, get an opinion of somebody, an engineer, somebody, whether a suggested process will work, and therefore give equal opportunity to everybody, I'm all for that. Personally, myself, nobody else, I'm not going to support this $549,000 tonight going to Norjohn until we look at all specification opportunities, all allocations of any opportunity, and equal opportunity for all in terms of bidding on it. And at the end of the day, if that works out, everybody's got equal opportunity, and all specifications have been considered and utilized, and somebody rises to the top and reaches out and takes that $550,000, I've done my job. But based on the way it sits here tonight, I don't feel as though I'm doing a due diligence and a service to my representatives. I know some people in the room don't like hearing that, but I've never been the type of guy to mix words anyway, so that's my opinion. And I'm very interested to see what the balance of my colleagues on council said, because we all know how this process fails. And if you look at the previous record of this process, there's 3 in the room right now didn't agree with it. And now we're back at the table again, launching out another $550,000 to somebody else.
Okay, Mrs. Hunter, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, through your worship. I just want to note that if council wants to bring this back up for discussion, it was discussed in 2016. There was a decision rendered by council regardless of whether 3 were against or 3 were for. It doesn't really matter at this point who was against or for. The fact is that it was passed. You're going to have a motion to reconsider, and 2 of the persons that voted in favor need to move and second that.
Thank you very much for that. Now I have,
Sorry. Just a point of clarification on that. If there is a motion to reconsider, and we have an existing motion right now, but if there is a motion to reconsider subsequently, it has to be moved and seconded by 2 members who voted with the majority on that original motion from the 2016 meeting that you're referring to.
for that, sir. Councilor Rogers and then Councilor Snively.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed, we're looking back at the information from the past, which I wasn't involved in, that 2 specifications were given. There was an option given, and we had people bidding on both. This one, we didn't give an option, and I'd like to know if administration knows how many companies within our area, or how many companies around here could actually do the specification as it was written. Do we have a number of companies around here, or because I know that Norjohn is from Hamilton, I believe, and I would like to just know if we have ability to have it done locally by local contractors. Thank you.
And I think Mr. Nepsey would be the one to give that answer, Director of Infrastructure and Development.
Through your worship, just to clarify, Councillor, are you looking for contractors just in the town of Essex, or county of Essex, or Chatham, Canton Down, or London and Down? I'm just trying to get a feel for what's local. There's a lot of things that we do within the town of Essex that we don't have local contractors work on. Contractors that can't necessarily do environmental process stuff, that can't necessarily do whatnot. So when we're looking at processes for construction, to me it's irrelevant who can do it locally. It's what I feel, or what this administration is feel what's best for these roads in the town of Essex. And where they're from is indifferent to me. So I don't know if council would like me to get into the report now, if now is the opportune time to get into the report and some reasoning behind it, and the implications behind full-blown investigations in delaying. I can do that now, or if I can wait till all of council has their questions for me, and we can go from there.
Mr. Mayor, if I may follow up on that?
Councilor Rogers, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm not looking for just in Essex, and I do understand that we look beyond our own town, but I'd say that what I'm referring to as a local would be within the county, or a county in Kent County possibly. But you should have an idea. I understand where you're coming from, but I believe that when you put a spec on something, you should have an idea as to what businesses locally or within our region are capable of complying to those specifications. That's all I'm asking is, do we have businesses within 100 kilometers of where we're sitting right now that could do this work? Because I understand that there are a couple of businesses that could, but they never quoted on it. They never saw the bid, or they never saw the RFP. Thank you.
Through your worship, as Councilor Rogers noted, I believe there are a couple that have the equipment in order to do this. If they choose not to bid it, that's not something that I can control.
Need about 30 seconds to hear something from our, you want to say something to me? You want to say something? Thank you very much. Okay, I have Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, this is a tough one. I understand that, but I wasn't in favor of this process. I was one of the ones that voted against it. And with the finished product on the 3rd, we did have problems with it popping. And I travel that road usually on a daily basis. And I'm comparing that road to another road that's very close to it, where a competitor did the work. And that road is traveled to, and that road I believe was put in 8 or 10 years ago, and that road's like brand new. It's like brand new. So to council, I don't know how council is going to go here, but I will not support this. $500,000 taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Vopes.
I just want to go on record with council and identify to those that in engineering and everybody here tonight, that the specifications as they're spelled out today as they're spelled out by our, in terms of our infrastructure department, they're doing obviously very clearly what they deem to be in the interest of the town of Essex. They do it every day. But I'm also under the understanding that the specifications that other companies would have the opportunity to bid on this job, if the specifications were changed to fit the nature of that particular work, that process, that application that has longevity to it, you can be rest assured when I tell you, because I looked into it, other municipalities in our region use that process. And it works. And it has longevity. And it has good history. And it has a fair price to it. And the reason I know that is because I went to the sources of other municipalities and found out specifically myself. Talk to the people. Talk to the people who apply it, write it, and ask for it. And they've had great success with that process by other given companies. So why in Essex, in terms of our specifications, if we can alternate based on what somebody is solidifying and the reason we can't, then we can't. But if we can, and I can put tentatively, and I want to go on record and say tentatively, just on this project alone, over $100,000 back into taxpayers' pockets, then I have to do that. I can't pick, I can't choose, I got to be responsible as elected representative. and I know which way my arrow is going to point at the end of the day. And I'm not going to do it in any terms of conflict based on personalities or job assignment. I'm going to do it on a responsible fashion in terms of a process that works and is proven to work over and over again. And I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Nepsey, we're Director of Infrastructure and Development, sir.
Through your worship, I'm going to move this because I might be a little bit. A couple things here. This process we've used, this will be the third year that we've looked at this process. It hasn't failed. I've heard that word several times from several councilors. It utterly has not failed. Did we have some issues in the first year with it? Absolutely, we did. In the second phase of it, we tightened up the spec, we modified things, we changed the type of stone that was used as the end treatment, a little more robust to alleviate some of those issues. And we had no issues in that second phase. Similarly, you know, the MTO is having issues with concrete on Highway 3. Do we think that they're never going to use concrete again on a highway? I think not. Are they looking at making sure that their processes and that their spec modifies to change to make sure they don't have those problems? I'm guessing yes, but they're still going to have concrete highways out there. We've had full-blown road reconstructions that we've had to crack seal the year after down the middle. Shouldn't happen. We've done it. We still continue using full-blown road reconstructions with asphalt. This year alone, in the town of Essex, we've done full depth reclamation. That's a certain type of construction process. That was North Malden Road. We're going to do a shave and pave on Gordon Wilson. Different type of process. We're not doing full depth. We're not doing full road reconstruction. We have this process, so the cold rolled recycled. Next week, next council meeting, I'm looking to approve $500,000 worth of surface treatment, regular tar and chip, and a pulverize and tar and chip. So we have 5 different road reconstruction type road rehab processes that we're applying in the town of Essex. Why I'm saying that is we're not picking as an administration one process that fits all. Every year we meet, we look at the budget, we look at the roads. What's the best treatment we feel for that road? In this instance, we're 100% unanimous in terms of the administration side. It doesn't happen a lot in my department where we all agree on something in terms of what method or what practice. We've all agreed that this method, in terms of cold rolled recycle, in these 2 applications works. On the 5th concession, nope, not going to work. We've tendered it as pulverize and tar and chip. On some of our other surface treatment roads, no, tar and chip. Gordon Wilson, do I say to put concrete there? I'd love to. I'd love to put concrete everywhere. Not the best application for our needs right now. We don't want to open these roads up. We want to put something with a little strength, a little more robustness on there, fills in those gaps in terms of a surface profile. It's done well, the last treatment. So, again, we look at the roads, we assess the roads, we look at what treatment is to be used. That's what we're doing. It has nothing to do with who can do it locally, in my mind. It has nothing to do with what other municipalities are doing. I don't care what other municipalities are doing. We're doing it. It's worked well for us. We have other people asking us about it. They're interested in using this product. In terms of, I know Councillor Vokes, you noted you wanted an engineer to look at it. This is an approved method for rehabilitation. It's not a question of an engineer looking at whether it's an approved method or not. I'm an engineer. You have an engineer on staff. It's an approved method of rehab. We can do that. If you choose not to do that, that's a political choice of yours. That's no issue with me. I mean, as far as engineering goes, as far as operations goes, it works for us. We feel it works for us in this application. If you want to do a full-blown comparison and a full-blown investigation on all our surface treatments, on what we're choosing to do on our roads, we can do that. More than likely, that won't get done for the next council meeting. I'm away the second council meeting in August. Now we're pushing to September. We might as well cancel our roads program this year and then look at doing a full-blown investigation on how we want to tackle all our roads. And that's fine with me if that's something that this council chooses to do this year. So You know, I'm a little passionate about this. I've given you a lot of details on this on the last couple of years. I'm not trying to outsource our local contractors. They can do this type of work. They might have to buy equipment to do this type of work. They choose not to do that. We've had contractors that didn't do any pulverizing 3 years ago. Now we have contractors that have pulverizing equipment. I mean, things change, people adapt, people buy the equipment they need if they feel it's something that they can make money at, and we move forward that way. So, you know, I guess with that, I can leave it. If there's any more questions for me, I mean, I guess I'm here.
Thank you, sir. I have Councillor Bondi.
Boy, thank you. I have a tough act to follow over there after Mr. Nepsey. Some really good comments. And like Councillor Snively said, 2 years ago I wasn't in favor of going down the road in this direction. So I still have some questions just so I can get some clarification in my mind. When we, through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Nepsey, our Director of Infrastructure, when we put this out to tender, we set the specs so that it could only be bid on by people that could do the recycled asphalt product.
Mr. Nepsey?
Yeah, through your worship, yes. In this instance, on these roads, we feel that that was the only, the application that we felt best. You know, similar to other roads, Fairview, we were going to bid both concrete and asphalt. We determined in the end that asphalt was going to be a better fit for Fairview Avenue. We tendered it as one. We can tender all our jobs with all those processes if we choose, and we can evaluate those prices at the end. And some are going to be more than others, absolutely, but it's the application that fits in the end.
Thank you. And further, Mr. Mayor, I believe to the CAO's comment about council would have to reconsider, but did council give direction that we tender this road to these specific specs, I guess is my question, because we really don't give the specs on the roads, right? We just give the budget. Or do we give the specs on the roads? When we came up with this a couple years ago, I don't remember dealing with a whole bunch of roads. I remember dealing with 1 or 2 roads, and I myself was opposed to that process going forward, and I'm not sure I'm still completely convinced because I spent a lot of hours on the phone today talking to people too. So did we, as a council, give direction to tender the road this way? And I have more.
Through your worship, no, that's a decision for administration. I mean, that's something, you know, similarly, you don't recommend on what water treatment process that we're going to use or what wastewater treatment process we're going to use. That's something that you've hired us for as professionals in our fields, whether it's accounting or planning or engineering, and that's something that we're recommending to you. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, further please. So I think I do have some red flags with it. I'm kind of, you know, warming up to the cold process, but I still think we need to, as a council, still have this discussion. I don't know if tonight's the night, but if we're looking at environmental and if we're looking at cost, I still have that worry that the road may not last as long as the mechanically pulverized roads. I still have that. There are other experts out there. You know, you can contact LaUNA, who is in charge of local contractors, and they prefer the mechanical pulverizing, the hot asphalt mix, not the recycled asphalt, maybe because it's new down here, and maybe because not a lot of people are doing it. Another concern I have with the report is that we only have one person bid on it, or one company, sorry. And I agree with you about it. To me, we can't control local, and I think, unfortunately, we can't control local. We can't go out there and say only Essex County companies can bid on it. That's not up to us. We have a policy. The province, you know, dictates who we can, you know, give our work to. We have to have an open bid. I am more focused on the workmanship and in the road, the quality of the road. So if I can be convinced that the quality of the road with this cold asphalt mix is going to be the same as the mechanical pulverized mix, then I'll be bought in. Right now, I'm not bought in. I wasn't bought in 2 years ago. My position doesn't change. And so we can say it doesn't matter what we did 2 years ago, but it matters to me. So I think Mr. Nepsey wants to say a little bit more, but as of right now, I don't know if we are going to go forward, but I'm not in favor of going forward right now.
Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, there's a few times I've heard council speak 2 years ago. You've used this process the last 2 years. So it's not just 1 year that we've sat on. You used it 2 years in a row, and like I said, with success. We've also done pulverized roads we've done a road within the last couple of years that we had to pulverize and surface treat, and we're going back to patch that road again this year. So it's construction, and there's so many variables with the base and with drainage that sometimes you get roads that turn out perfect, and sometimes you think it's going to be perfect and it's not, and that's unfortunate. In terms of Liuna and talking about hot mix asphalt, heck, I'd love to hot mix asphalt all our roads, but you want to see your budget get blown out of the water. That's the problem. So yes, I would love to do that as well. So I agree with them on that. But again, we don't have that luxury of having the money to be able to do that. And if they're talking about the full depth reclamation and the cold in place recycled expanded asphalt, the siring process that the county uses on their roads, we can't do that on our tar and chip roads because there's not enough meat and potatoes, there's not enough substance in that road to be able to do those types of processes. So I guess in terms of Norjon was here 2 years ago, I believe, explained everything to you in terms of their process. I don't know, in educating council again on roads and different types of treatments, there's a big difference between hot mix asphalt and tar and chip. And that's something that by all means my door is always open, and I'll have those conversations with council.
Councilor Bonnie? Oh, finished. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Again, I know we had the debate 2 years ago. I was one of the persons that were in favor of continuing on with this adventure, and it was really a convincing of our administration. We hire these administrators at a very good rate of pay. They may not think so, but we do hire them as our experts. I'm not a road expert. I know a lot about roads. I've been educated by local people and by various seminars that we've been to and roads conferences, and discussions here. But in the end, I'm not an expert, and neither are any of us on council. As much as we'd like to be, and as much information as we can get our hands on, we pay these people to be our experts for us to make our decisions. It's not like as if we're putting all of our eggs in one basket. We are doing different processes. This is just one road that we're doing in this fashion. Our administration, and as Mr. Nepsy has said, all of his staff have agreed 100% unanimously. This is the process they want to use on this road. I, for one, am going to be in favor of what Mr. Nepsy is telling us that we should be doing with this road, because he's the guy that we've hired to tell us what we should be doing with these roads. I am certain that they don't go out and pick processes on purpose to try and bar any particular individual or company or make sure that it's not local. It just happens in this instance that it's not a local person that's doing it. But I'm sure that they don't put their bids out to try and wipe out local people from bidding on these projects. So they feel that this is the best for this particular road. I do want to see the Gore Road done this year. I don't want to see it put off for another year. So I'm going to be in favor of moving forward with this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, sir. And with that, I'm the last one to speak other than Councilor Vokes, who has spoken twice, but I'm still going to let him be the wrap-up as he made the motion. I'm going to turn the gavel over to Deputy Mayor Malash because I have many comments to make about this. And I won't be quite as polite as Deputy Mayor Malash was. So you give me the floor, Deputy Mayor.
All yours, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know where to start, but probably my first question, if I may, and I only need a yes or no, is to Councilor Vokes. He's been all over the place investigating, and I respect him for that. But my question would be to Mr. Vokes, did you talk to our administration, whether it be Mr. Nepsy, but especially Mr. Bosalil, who's our roads guy?
in answer to that,
No, I don't need a long story,
okay.
sir. I just need have you talk to
Yes,
Mr. Bosley about
Yes.
this? Okay, that's all I need to know.
but for the record,
Okay,
based on historical files leading to today,
okay, good.
okay? But
Thank you.
I've had
Okay, thank you very
discussions
much.
with Chris and everybody in
Okay.
the infrastructure department.
Okay. I spent an hour, I went to see Mr. Nepsey about this issue when the emails went through this morning. Mr. Nepsey was out busy. I talked to Mr. Bosaleo, who is the manager of capital works and infrastructure. I don't know exactly, I wish I had asked him how many, 28, 32 years he's worked in that position for the town of Essex. Before that, I believe he's worked for the town of Leamington. But this guy, as Deputy Mayor says, was hired by the town of Essex to do a job. And as far as I'm concerned, he's doing that job or he wouldn't be working for the town of Essex all those years. The same as Mr. Nepsey and everyone else in administration. And I don't know how many times I've told council, we got these people to inform us what's the best thing to do. Is the best thing to do use 2 sheets or 1 sheet? We make the decision. We all know we make that decision, but they're the experts, as Deputy Mayor Melange said. 5 processes we do with the roads. Now, we've had 2 complaints in the last 3 or 4 years because I didn't get the job. That's where the complaints come from. Everyone, according to Mr. Bosleo, had an opportunity to bid on this. In the past, people have teamed up with another business. Hey, I don't have this piece of equipment, but I'll partner up with you, and we've got that job probably. We got a chance at the job. Everybody has a chance to bid on that, whether it's from here to Timbuktu. The other municipalities, what they do I care about what they do? I hope they do good, but I don't care what their administration and council decides. It's what our administration says to us that we pay attention to, not what they think we should be doing. We got to listen to our people. Do you think these people are going to stick around here if we don't listen to their advice? They're not here trying to get reelected. They're here trying to keep their job. Right now, it's too bad it's year 4 of this term, because I don't think we'd be putting quite so much effort into this thing if it wasn't for election coming up in a few months. These people don't make their decisions on those kinds of things, which I think some of us do. They work for us. They work for us. They're doing the best thing for our taxpayers, us, the whole municipality. And I'll go to my grave preaching the same thing. Never, never, never would I ever tell these guys, hey, you're wrong, because I don't know that job. They're not here to please anybody except the taxpayer, each and every one of these people. Now, Richard told me today, Mr. Bosleo, those 2 types. You know, we use 2 types. We've done roads on 2 types. You know, and I'm not so sure it's like Councilor Sagley says, this road broke down. He told me that it broke down. You know why it broke down? We shouldn't be using this, but we couldn't afford to put the better one. The big trucks. If the big trucks, those dual haulers and everything, weren't on this type of road that we want to do on the smaller roads will stay up. They might have to patch here or there because nothing is perfect. But when those big vehicles from the farmers and everything get on there with their loads now, oversized loads, those combines and everything take up the whole road going down there. Some roads can't handle that stuff. Boy, it'd be nice if we were to put that, you know, the big whatever he said to me on all of those roads, but like Mr. Nepsey said, we can't afford it. We're doing the smaller roads with the type that is proposed here. The smaller, lightly traveled, 2,000 vehicles on one concession and 500 on the other ones. So we do the 2,000 vehicles, the heavy vehicles, with that more expensive thing, so it'll hold up, and the less expensive on the low volume roads where the big equipment shouldn't be. Those are things I heard today. So see if there's anything else. Oh yes, Mr. Bosleo, like he's been here all these years, we send them to these conferences so they can learn. They learn all of this stuff, at those conventions and everything else. Oh, this is a new process. This is a new process. We're as up to date as any municipality in this county, I'll tell you. And Kent County, whatever. We are at the top of the list in this department, and I think every other department. So I will be supporting this thing because they know what they're talking about. All we have to do is believe them, and we'll support it. You don't believe them, you'll turn the darn thing down. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Sniper has his hand up.
If I may, as the chair now, we have a motion on the floor, so we've all had our chance to talk. That's why I was last. Now, Councilor Vokes has the last word. Councilor Vokes.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of wrapping up, and I want to go on record, and I want to make it very clear collectively to the council and everybody here. Not at any given time, in my follow-up, my homework on this particular issue, did I ever question Chris in terms of his ability to perform for the town of Essex in the interest of taxpayers and that of the infrastructure? Never once. But when I come to advisement as a representative that a process, and I want to reiterate with council, and I want you to hang on to this thought, and I want you to think about it. When I've been confirmed to me that a process based on specification, and it doesn't say that Chris's specifications are right or wrong, I know absolutely nothing about specifications, and the truth is, I don't want to know about specifications. It means nothing to me at the end of the day. Here's what means everything to me. When I hear of a process that has been successfully implemented in other municipalities with a 30% reduced cost, with a longevity record of non-failure and non-adjustment, then I have to acknowledge that as an elected representative. Has nothing to do with Chris, has nothing to do with administration. I heard Chris say merely seconds ago he doesn't care about the money portion of it. Want to know why he doesn't care? Because he doesn't have to. We got to care as elected representatives. And that's important. If I could, Chris, if you want to talk to that, I'll open the floor and let you talk to that if you want.
No, I'll open the floor up, sir. You won't.
So my point is, people, and I'm not going to carry on about it, and I'm not going to continue. I'm just going to tell you that my same arguments and my same position I took with Norjohn 2 years ago has nothing to do with the election coming up. My position still remains the same today, that the opportunity of another application chance should be exercised to see how it works within our municipality as it has with others. Because it's got a proven working track record for less money. And if we don't do that and we don't exercise that, then we're not doing our due diligence as a council. Because I've heard tonight that we've done this now 2 years in a row, and it's worked. That's great. You adjusted the specs, you tweaked it, and it's working. Hats off to you. But what that tells me is I've spent irresponsibly $250,000 more of taxpayers' money when I got a profound process that works just as well. And I'll leave it at that. You all have a responsibility as an elected body to make that decision. It has nothing to do with personalities, it has nothing to do with businesses, it has nothing to do with administration. It has everything to do with that seat you're sitting in and the taxpayers who work hard every day to pay these bills. And when somebody tells me there's a process that'll work just as well, if not longer, I know where I'm going. Irrelevant to personalities and everything else that has anything to do with it.
Mr. Nepsey, please.
Thank you, Worship. Just to be crystal clear, I never once stated that I didn't care about the money. Crystal clear.
We can watch it on YouTube.
What I noted was I didn't care what other municipalities did. I am very aware of the money and the budgets and the constraints we have within the town of Essex, and I do my best to try and make sure that we get the best product for the bang for our buck. I just need to be clear on that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. At this time, Mr. Chair, I'm making a motion to table this till later. Councilor Bunny supports. Thank you very much. Councillor votes. Shh, shh, shh. Councillor Snively too, sorry. Just checking up on the rules. Okay, so, you want to read it, sir? Motion to table. It needs a vote. So, all in favor of tabling the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Votes.
Okay, so now that the majority of council has agreed to table it, what's the next step then?
The next step is for a member of council to move with a motion to remove it from the table.
No, but let's just, thanks for that. But my question is that if we remove it from the table and nobody supports the motion to move with it or not to move with it, where do we go with it? Where do we go tomorrow with it, is my point. It's okay to say to table it, but where does it go tomorrow morning at the start of business day?
It doesn't get dealt with tomorrow morning. It's tabled until our next meeting. And then a council member will make a motion to bring it back to the table, like bring it off the table, to discuss again. It's not a done issue. That's right.
Discuss what? We just spent like an hour and a half discussing it.
Okay, Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Somewhat along the lines of Councilor Vokes, what will we be doing? Are we going to come back with, is some more information going to come back to us? What's going to happen with this being tabled?
Well, I think I'm 100% clear of what the process is, why it was. Like there were comments made, those guys are doing that on that road. We're doing it here too, what we want. What we want, not in this, but the other process, some of us want that process. We do that process on some roads, as I stated earlier. We don't do it on all of our roads because administration figures it's not needed on I'll say the 8th, and I'm not picking on the 8th, but the volumes aren't there, and neither is the way to the vehicles that travel that road. So we do this process. And everyone has a chance to bid on that. We're not denying anyone a chance, so that's all I'm saying. Hopefully, everyone will get all the information. So, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So what we're doing is we're going to have an opportunity as council people, as council members, to do some more educating of ourselves between now and the next meetings. That's what your goal is on this. Okay, thank you.
Talk to other municipalities and find out if they do both ways or whatever. Bring that information back to us. That's all. Oh yeah, we're done there. Right.
Yep.
That issue. Okay.
8.4, Infrastructure and Development, 2018-13.
Point of order, if I could, please.
Point of order is?
The point of order is it was asked to table it. In order to table something, don't you have to do it through a motion? And don't you have to call that question?
We just did it, sir.
I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Because I was going to ask for a recorded vote. I can't believe I missed that. Okay. I'm
just ask the Free Press to say who voted against it and who voted for it. Same thing. Yep.
8.4, Infrastructure and Development, 2018-13. For receipt, and that council supports the rationale provided and authorizes administration to waive the requirement for a tendering process in accordance with the town's policy on procurement, and that council further direct administration to proceed to enter into a 10-year agreement with the Ontario Clean Water Agency for the provision of operations of all Town of Essex wastewater facilities at a total cost of $1,052,389 in year one and adjusted annually thereafter as outlined in those attached agreements.
It was moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
.5 Planning 2018-30, Essex Town Center Limited rezoning application. For receipt, that said report be received for information purposes this evening and brought back for discussion at the statutory public meeting to be held on Monday, July 23rd.
By Councillor Bondi, supported by Deputy Mayor Malage. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.6, Planning 2018-31, Site Plan Control Approval, Noah Homes. And this is together with Bylaw 1729, authorizing the entering into of a site plan control agreement between the Town of Essex and Noah Homes Limited for receipt and with 3 readings to Bylaw 1729.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? That carries.
8.7, Planning 2018-32, Extension of Draft Plan Approval for receipt, and that council approved to the agree to the 3-year extension of the draft plan of subdivision approval for lands comprising part of lots 5, 6, and 7 on Registered Plan 202, located east of Queen Street, south of 3rd Concession Road, and further that the manager of planning services for the county be advised.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malage. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.8, Finance and Business Services 2018-10, drainage bill write-offs for receipt, and that council approve administration going forward or to move forward with writing off drain bills under $10 on all future drain billings and to fund those charges through the drainage operating budget.
Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Deputy Mayor Malage. Questions? Councillor Rogers.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask a question. I see that, we're going to waive the ones that are under $10, which can make a lot of sense, but I'm looking back in the information, I saw that there were times when we would just put them on the tax bill for those places, and there was complaints that they were getting assessed penalties for not having paid them up front and that kind of thing. Why do we wait until that point? Why don't we just take these smaller bills every whatever we're putting a tax bill out and put them on these tax bills and without the penalties so that people can identify them and we can actually, it's not a lot of money, but hey, it's still our money.
Hey, that question's going to Mr. Jeff Morrison, our Corporate Services boss.
Through the chair. The way that it used to work is that we'd bill out throughout the year and then we'd have the small ones that fall under and they automatically get added to taxes. So depending on the timing, if they weren't complete before June, then they wouldn't make it onto the final. So then we would add them at the point that interest starts accruing, but no invoices were ever sent out. So they get added to tax and then the penalty interest would start getting accumulated. So then come February, when the first installment in the next year is due, the individuals would realize that they have an arrears. And at that point, we had issues with individuals complaining. The reason why we couldn't make individual drain bills tax exempt is because it applies to the whole roll. You have to go in and do an adjustment to each one of those. So if there's 971 in a year, you'd have to go in and do an adjustment each month to all 971 of those. So, in order to, you can't, with the tax roll, you can't make, under our GL, you can't make certain parts of amounts that are added to tax exempt. So it applies to the whole roll. So if you make a roll exempt, that entire roll is exempt from all interest and penalty. So that would be the taxation, that would be the amount added to drains. So we'd have to go in and manually adjust. So for 2015, or for example, if all 971 were added to tax, we'd have to go in monthly and adjust each one of those. So, yeah, so for 2018, what we did is you might
I've received some phone calls. We made the decision, because we didn't meet that cutoff for year final, is that we sent out all of those bills. So I've spoken to a few residents who received a couple bills that were about 63 cents, and they said, financially, how does that make sense? As a whole, it makes sense. Individually, not necessarily, but we wanted to be open and transparent, knowing that this report was coming tonight and that there was light at the end of the tunnel. So in 2015, council approved to fund light brushing through the rural levy, and that eliminated approximately, I'd say, 2,000 to 2,200 invoices a year. So by doing that, it eliminated a lot of the ones that fall under the $10, but there are some that are left over. There could be half-acre lots, depending on the assessment schedule and the work that was done. These are maintenance projects or bigger projects. It just happens that their bills are so small. So that's why we're moving forward. This is kind of the next step to kind of clean up the process to make it more efficient.
On that, just follow up. So going forward in the future, I mean, so that we're not writing off anything under $10, so why even, like, if it's under $10, we don't even bother with those people anymore then, if that's the case. Why don't we, I mean, why don't we just, like, sorry, I've lost my train of thought on that one, but I really think that we should be capturing, I mean, is it going to be a policy that we're just going to just not, you know, waive all anything under $10 going forward?
Through the chair. So anything that falls under $10 would be funded through the operation drainage budget. My intent is that that would be funded through the rural levy, similar to how light brushing is done. So that way it would be funded through the rural property owners. And
so we won't be, like, the town won't be absorbing that then, there's just be a different venue to get it paid.
Through the chair, yes. It's just a different means of collecting it, so.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
Reports, item 9, reports from youth members.
I have nothing to report today.
Anyways, welcome, Ethan. Hey, thanks for coming.
Item 10, any updates from county council?
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Nothing interesting going on there?
I had one from the Essex Winter Solid Waste meeting that we had, last week, but I'll wait until the county deals with it, and then I'll bring it back next meeting probably.
11.1.1 on the agenda for receipt, correspondence from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change responding to this council's previous letter in February for receipt this evening.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 11.2.1, that the correspondence from AMO Communications dated July 12th, suggesting that councils consider supporting the Halton Region resolution to establish the legitimacy of municipal and provincial regulatory roles before the Ontario Court and close the regulatory gap, be received and supported, and if so supported, that the appropriate letter of support be sent to the authorities noted.
Moved by Councilor Rogers to move and support, to receive and support. Deputy Mayor Malash supports. And any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12, that the minutes listed in set of item 12 together with any recommendations, so that the following committee minutes together with any recommendations noted therein be received and adopted as circulated.
D, supported by Councilor Snively. Questions? All in favor? That carries.
.1, that the May 2018 bank payments report be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councilor Rogers. Any questions? In favor? That carries.
Item 15, notices of motion. All of the following notices of motion are for presentment this evening and to be brought forward for consideration at the next regular council meeting. 15.1, as moved by Councillor Bondi, that council have a discussion on recent parking complaints and concerns at the Colchester Harbor and Parkland and provide direction to administration if applicable. 15.2, as added to the adopted agenda this evening, as moved by Councillor Bondi, that council request a report from administration of the last 4 years, rates of free roam and cat voucher uptakes. And 15.3, also as added to the adopted agenda this evening, is a notice of motion from Councillor Bondi concerning the Harrow Arena concessions. If you could provide the motion.
Sure, just that council have a discussion on the reduction in service at the Harrow Arena concession stand, so that residents are aware and we have an open and transparent conversation.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Item 16, reports and announcements from council members this evening.
We'll start with Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Sound like a tired record, but July the 28th, we're going to have McGregor Coan Park celebration for the 40th anniversary of Coan Park. Tree dedications and are around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Steak dinner, and you can get chicken if you want. If you want tickets, let me know. There will be some last minute. If you did show up, I don't think that they would turn you away. They do have Leo Dufour coming out to do a performance. He's a local comedian from Amherstburg. He's been around for a lot of years. I'm sure a lot of you know who he is. But he's going to be doing a comedy act that night along with a few of his compadres. And ball tournament happening at the same time. A lot of different family events. There'll be face painting and games for the kids and so on. So if you're interested and have the time, come on out. Saturday, July the 28th. Starts at noon and goes till 10 at night.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Chair. You got anything going on the 28th? On July 28th, starting 10 o'clock, 10 to 4, we're having the Essex Business Expo downtown Essex. Disney characters, face painting, live music, food, and all the businesses there. Crews in for the vehicles, and all the businesses will be there promoting their business in the town of Essex. A worthy project for sure.
For that, sir, Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to let the 28th, let Councillor Snidely do the 28th, but I want to talk about Communities in Bloom. This year we're having our front yard and balcony contest again as Essex Communities in Bloom. You have until the end of the month to nominate either yourself, a neighbor, or somebody you don't like or somebody you like. But anyway, to have their gardens judged for this year. And it is open till the end of July for nominations. You can get the forms online or at a number of businesses within our within our town, as well as I believe in the town office. We have applications for the Communities in Bloom contest as well. But I certainly encourage everyone to, you see a nice property that is improving our town, nominate them. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, two things. Explore the Shore is the 28th of July, and the 28th of July will be the Essex Family Fun Day down at the harbor. We're going to have music, we're going to have activities for the kids all day, and at 10 o'clock there'll be fireworks set off a barge. So that'll be a good day for the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bunny. The only thing I want to do is thank anyone who volunteered at the Fun Fest. I missed it this year. I was away on vacation, but I know Mr. Sweet, I had a conversation with him with regards to that, and some of us were there all the time. But I know one person, she told me on the telephone, she's on her way to vacation, that probably next year she won't be around because she can't do what Larry Snively and a few other people did on that weekend, because almost put her in the hospital. So anyone who had anything to do with putting on the Fun Fest and volunteering and helping, thank you very much for that. Let's see you all back next year. Thank you.
Your worship, and to the staff, they were great at the Fun Fest. I think it was very, very well organized. The parade was good, and there was a lot of volunteers you see there every year too, year after year. So thanks to them too. Thank you.
.1 bylaws for third and final reading. 1725 to enter into a conservation easement agreement.
Moved by Councilor Rogers, supported by Councilor Vokes. Questions? All in favor? That carries.
1728 to confirm the proceedings of the July 3rd, 2018 regular council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Deputy Mayor Malage. Questions? All in favor? That carries.
And for two readings this evening, 1731 to confirm the proceedings of this July 16th, 2018 regular meeting.
Moved by Councilor Vokes, supported by Councilor Bondi. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries. And looking for Councilor Bondi, Councilor Vokes, all in favor, always gets passed. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone.